Radar detected the Japanese Navy's approach to Pearl Harbor 50 minutes before the first bombs fall, and the warning was dismissed. On the morning of December 7, 1941, a date which would live in infamy, two newly trained Army radio operators, Private Joseph L. Lockhart and Private George Elliott, sat over the U.S. Army SCR-270B mobile radar set at the Opana radar site on the north shore of Oahu. Their scheduled shift had ended at 7 a.m. by order of General Walter Short, who had restricted all Oahu radar stations to just 4 hours of operation per day. But the breakfast truck was late, so Lockhart and Elliott stayed on the set for extra training time. If that truck had arrived on time, the radar would have been shut down, and the attack would have arrived with no detection at all. Weeks earlier, on November 27, 1941, the War Department had sent a warning that the Japanese were possibly planning an attack. The Opana operator's schedule had been moved to 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. in response, but the radar was still ordered to be off by 7 o'clock every morning. At 7:02, they saw something alarming. A massive formation of aircraft roughly 132 miles away, headed directly toward the Hawaiian Naval Base. They confirmed the radar was working properly, then telephoned the report to the Intercept Center at Fort Shafter. There, the switchboard operator, Private Joseph P. McDonald, alerted First Lieutenant Kermit A. Tyler. This was Tyler's second day at the Intercept Center. He had minimal training in protocols and no veteran staff to assist him. The other plotters had left for breakfast. He was alone to review the report and make a decision. Poring over what he was told, Tyler concluded the blips were from a scheduled flight of 6 B-17 bombers arriving from the mainland. A B-17 flight was indeed expected that morning, but only 6 planes. The radar showed roughly 180. Tyler had no way to know that. The SCR-270 had no identification friend or foe system, and no procedure existed to distinguish friendly aircraft from enemy aircraft at range. He reportedly told the privates, "Don't worry about it." From 7:02 until 7:40, Lockhart and Elliott tracked down the incoming aircraft. The signal was lost at 7:40 due to ground clutter from surrounding mountains. At 7:45, McDonald was relieved by his replacement. Lockhart shut off the radar, and he and Elliott would head for breakfast. 5 minutes later, the world changed. Tyler had attributed the radar report to B-17s. Instead, the naval base was met with Imperial Japanese warplanes. As Lockhart and Elliott arrived for breakfast, they were notified that the attack had begun. They rushed back to their station and manned the radar until the attack ended. After the attack, McDonald's written message from Elliott, the one reporting a great number of planes coming in from the north, was found balled up in a trash can. A fellow soldier copied it, word for word, into a notebook dated December 7th, 1941. In the aftermath, a Naval Board of Inquiry assessed the shortcomings of the Army's radar warning system. The Long-Range Search Radar had been developed around 1937 at the U.S. Army Signal Corps Laboratory at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. In 1940, the Westinghouse Electronics Division in Baltimore was contracted to produce about 100 sets of what became known as the SCR-270. The military used this system to establish an early aircraft warning system for the defense of the United States. Early tests showed the system could identify aircraft over 117 miles away, demonstrated at Fort Sherman in the Panama Canal Zone. The Oahu base set began operation in July 1941. Local senior leadership showed little interest in the project, leaving it to be assembled under the initiative of Major Kenneth Bergquist and other junior officers. The result was a fundamental lack of training protocols for the officers tasked with using the unit, and no formal procedures for ensuring incoming aircraft were identified as hostile rather than misidentified as civilian or Allied planes. The Naval Board of Inquiry was thorough. It concluded that Lockhart's report was improperly disregarded by an undertrained and not at fault Tyler, who was cleared of wrongdoing. The failure was not one man's mistake. It was a half-activated warning system, a 4 hours a day operating order, no friend or foe identification system, and an unbriefed officer left alone on his second day. Colonel W. H. Tetley, commanding officer of the Aircraft Warning Company, later noted that had Tyler informed the fighter wing, it might have gotten airborne in time to intercept and reduce the impact of the attack. The Opana radar site now stands as a National Historic Landmark and an IEEE milestone in electrical engineering and computing. The radar itself was mobile and left no trace. Only 2 plaques remain at Turtle Bay, marking the first operational wartime use of radar by the United States military. If you like forgotten stories from radio and engineering history, subscribe. The next one is about the man who hacked Marconi's secure wireless demo in 1903.